One of the first features you notice when you look out over the Grand Hall are the striking house structures situated along a cedar boardwalk. These 6 house fronts were recreated from historic photographs and oral histories of houses that stood in coastal villages about 100 to 150 years ago. In this exhibit, they're arranged in the shape of a 19th century Northwest Coast village facing the water. Each house represents a different architectural style developed in indigenous societies from the southern to the northern coast. Together, the houses illustrate the region's cultural and architectural diversity. Each of these structures was built and installed by teams of experienced carvers from communities on the Northwest Coast for the opening of the new Canadian Museum of Civilization in 1989. The majority of the monumental poles were made in the 19th and early 20th centuries out of cedar trees. These are records of individual and family histories and identities. Behind the 6 house fronts are exhibits which speak to the histories and cultures of Northwest Coast communities. Drawing on objects and artworks from the museum's collections by both historic and living artists, the Grand Hall House exhibits focus on Indigenous presence and diversity, and were developed over the course of several years with a consultation committee comprised of advisors from southern, central, and northern coastal communities. This house behind me is the Coast Salish House. Speakers of Coast Salish languages live in areas of what is now southern British Columbia, near the cities of Vancouver and Victoria. It's based on a 19th century house that belonged to the head chief of the Tseshat, who lived near the present-day town of Port Alberni. The central region of what is now British Columbia is home to speakers of Kwakwala, Heiltsuk, and Haisla languages. This house uses commercial milled lumber for the house front as a way of showing historical changes along the coast in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The house front represents the house of Chief Wakas and originally stood at Alert Bay from the early 1890s until the 1930s. The Bella Coola Valley and Central Coastline is the traditional territory of the Newhalk, speakers of the Newhalk language. This house is based on an historic structure that was owned by the Klalaman family, who renamed the house Nusmata, which means the gathering place. The archipelago of Haida Gwaii is the ancestral territory of the Haida, speakers of the Haida language. This house was built using vertical planks that were slid into place between the roof and the floor. These could be removed to allow the entrance of performers at feasts or potlatches. The roof is supported by 6 large beams, a style of architecture that was popular on Haida Gwaii in the 19th century. The house front painting is a reconstruction of an interior house screen that was used in the Coast Tsimshian village of Port Simpson in the mid-19th century.